everyone, Carmine from New York here. This is photo class number 528. Today is a different photo class. I'm going to explain to you my first big paying job that I ever got. In 1978, I was a recent photography school graduate. This is me, the guy with the plaid shirt. So let's just jump right into it. This is me in 1978, and you can see I'm carrying two cameras. This one is the big one is the Mamiya C330. And the 35mm is this one. I still have this camera. It's the Yashica Electro AX. This camera is still working just fine. So let me just jump right into it. My first big paying job right after photography school. In 1978, Sun Chemical, a chemical company in New York City, reached out to my photography school actually and was asking for a photographer that would be willing to take aerial photographs. And I was contacted and I said absolutely, I would love to take aerial photographs and get paid for it. So here was the assignment. The assignment was I was contacted by the branch manager who said that his conference room needed a aerial photograph of the factory, and would I be willing to do it? And I says, of course I'll be willing to do it. And you have to remember, this is many years before drones. Today a drone can do this from the safety of the ground. So I said sure. So what do I do as a young photographer, having never booked a airplane to take aerial photographs? I certainly wasn't going to do a helicopter. I knew that they were too expensive. So I contacted this gentleman right here. He was actually in the phone book. The phone book, that's something we had to use before there was the internet. And he was listed in the phone book as available to rent out his 1955 Piper airplane. His 1955 Pacer, Tri-Pacer Piper PA-22-150 is the exact name of the plane. He said sure. He said we could do that. So I just had to go to the airport to meet him. I'm just looking up the name of the airport. It was Flushing Airport in Flushing, New York. So I said, okay, but how much would it cost for you to fly me down to the site, which was located on Staten Island, New York, in New York City, fly around it several times, say 5 times, and then land back where my car was in Flushing? He says, how's $150? I says, let's do it. So for $150, I got into this 1955 Piper plane. But the story gets better. I get to the plane, and he was there gassing it up with his friend, not really a co-pilot, just his friend. And they both got in the front. They each had their own bucket, regular airplane seats. And he pointed to this. He said, you get in the back and sit on this wooden box. I said, you must be kidding. He says, no, we do this all the time. It turns out that he removed the back seat to save money on fuel, and he put a box there. So the way it worked was I got into the back. There was a little tiny door, and I mean a small door, right here. This little small door. And I got in and I sat on the box. And you have to remember, this little window was what I looked out of, but it didn't open. So before we took off, I said, how am I going to take aerial photographs if the window doesn't open? This is a quote. He said, no problem. When you tell me you're ready, open the door and you just take photographs from the open door. And this whole door right here, this door opened. I'm sitting on a wooden box, no seatbelt. The box wasn't attached to the floor. And off we went. We flew down the Hudson River. While flying down the Hudson River, I took advantage of taking photographs of the city. And yep, that's the Twin Towers that I took that day as we were flying down. I took many photographs. Took many aerial photographs flying to the destination. This is a boatyard for tugboats, etc. And as we got closer to the site, I told him, hey, do you know where it is? And he says, no, I'm waiting for you to tell me. Well, thank goodness I drove to the site and got some landmarks in my head, and I knew that it had a two-color chimney. So as we flew over the destination, the factory that I was supposed to take a photograph of, I saw the chimney. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. Right there, two-tone chimney. White on the top, and it was darker brown on the bottom. The reason it was two-tone, I find out, is that the building was so old that the laws changed and the chimney had to be made taller because there was a school right next to the chemical plant. Right here. This is a school, and this is the chemical plant. Right here. So, I'm glad they raised the chimney for those kids. So, this is the photograph. This is the actual photograph that I took for the job. I took it with, of course, the medium format camera on Tri-X. That's a 400 speed black and white film on the Mamiya C330 camera. So then we flew back and we landed, thank goodness, in the 1955 Piper, and I was very happy with the day. It was overcast, so I didn't get very strong shadows. I didn't get blown out highlights. It worked out great. So now the next task was I developed the film, and I knew which negative had to be blown up. The client wanted the enlargement 5 feet by 5 feet square. 5 feet by 5 feet. So that was beyond the capability of my enlarger in my darkroom, which looked like this back then. This was my first darkroom. It has a lot of, if you guys know darkrooms, I'm sure you all do, you should never have your dry area, this would be considered the dry area, where the enlarger is a vapor supply, but you should never have the wet area this close to it. But you know what? It was 1978 and we did crazy things. So I had to go back into the Manhattan Yellow Pages and look up photo processors who make enlargements giant size. So I contacted them by phone. I said I need a 5 by 5 foot black and white photograph, and it took me about 3 phone calls. I found a place that was willing to do it since I didn't have a contract with them. A lot of enlargement places back in the 70s, photo finishers, really wouldn't just take people off the street. You had to have a contract with them. You had to be well known. They were all worried about getting paid. But anyway, so I had to, I took the subway down to the enlarger, the processor. I gave him the negative, and of course he took it out, took the negative out, put it on a light table with his loupe, and he checked it to make sure it was in focus and that it didn't have any scratches. He says, all right, this would be perfect. And he was glad it was a medium format negative and not a 35mm format. So he says, okay, I'll call you when it's ready. 10 days later, I get a phone call. There was no email back then. He says, okay, come on. You can pick up the photograph. I still didn't even ask then how much it was. I just took it nonchalant, like, yeah, I'm in the biz, right? 1978. So I went there, and he says, okay, your photograph's ready. And it was in a tube, a very strong, hard cardboard tube. It was 5 feet long. So what was funny, the only thing I wasn't going to pull it out in his shop. I had to trust that it was, but I did pop the top and look inside to see if any little resemblance of the photograph, that it looked, that the photograph he enlarged looked like this, and that I didn't get somebody else's blow up. Okay, so I paid him, and if I didn't mention how much it was $90. $90 in 1978. I don't know what that would be equivalent to now. It was a lot of money. And remember now, I didn't take any money from Sun Chemical, the person that hired me. Everything was done at the end. It was old school. You got paid when the job was done. So now I have this roll-up photograph. Now I have to get it framed. That was also part of the job. So I look up custom framers. That wasn't too bad. It had to be a lightweight frame, meaning 2-inch wood border, and the front, to save weight, was plexiglass instead of a piece of sheet glass. Plexiglass to save weight, because this thing was going to be on the wall. You don't want to come crashing down. So I get the photograph enlarged, framed, and I deliver it to the client. The client was thrilled. Now, you might say, how much did I charge for this whole job? Right? Film processing, the airplane fee, my time in the darkroom, traveling to the processors, getting it enlarged, getting it framed. So back then, I didn't have anything to compare it to, since it was my first big corporate job. I just took all my costs and doubled it. And they were very happy. The client was extremely happy. He paid me immediately. Now we kind of look at each other like, hey, who's going to hang this? So I said, you know what I'll do? I'll come back tonight, and I will hang it. I'll go get my hammer and nails, and I will hang it in the conference room for you. And he says that works out good, because they had a security guard that was there all night. So he let me in. And I did. I hung it, I leveled it, and it worked out great. Long story short, that manager of Sun Chemical became a long-term client. I actually did another job for him only 3 months later, where he wanted photographs, 16 by 20s, hung along his long corridor in the factory with all the offices. You had sales department, you had sales service, you had accounting, you had the mail room. It's a very long hallway. It was kind of plain. So he wanted my photographs of anything of my choosing, as long as it was local. He wanted photographs of local highlights, like the Staten Island Ferry. All right, so that's my story of my very first big job.
And just as bonus footage for this video, it was August 1980, only 2 years after I did the aerial photograph for Sun Chemical. I actually got my first magazine cover, Industrial Photography Magazine. It's the August 1980 issue. These are the pigments that Sun Chemical made back then. This is the whole magazine cover, and this is the second page where you'll see my name, etc. And I did take this picture with the same Yashica Electro AX camera. Thank you, Sun Chemical.
Comment below. Tell me what you think of my first aerial job. Have a great day.